Now today we're doing something a little bit different compared to the oil filter videos we've done in the past. And that's looking at an oil filter that's used by these quick lube locations. In other words, you drive into an engine bay and within 5 minutes they change the oil filter, and you drive off and you're done. Now this is something I inadvertently came across when I obtained the Acura behind me. I recently did an oil change, and this is the oil filter that was installed on the vehicle. So what I've done is I kept that old filter that was on the vehicle, and I purchased another filter, the exact same filter but brand new. We'll cut open both filters and see how everything held up after it was a little over 5,000 miles on the car. So what does the media look like? Has it degraded, the anti-drain back valve, things like that. Now very quickly, I don't know anything about this filter. There's such little information online about this filter. This is strictly from a construction point of view. In other words, what does the media look like? What's the spacing like? How's the gluing? Are there metal end caps? What's the anti-drain back valve material? Things like that. I have no idea what the micron rating is, dirt capacity, flow rate. I have no clue, to be perfectly honest. Very, very little information about this online. But I thought it'd be pretty cool just to see how this has held up after 5,000 miles. Now, before we begin, I know many of you over time have also requested other oil filters. For example, many of you want to see Pennzoil, so we'll have that coming very soon. But if you want to see something that we have not shown yet, I'll include a playlist right now above my left shoulder. But if you go through that list, if there's something there that you want to see, please leave those comments. I'll just add it to the list I have, and we'll just keep on pumping up oil filter videos because I know many of you like just seeing what's inside. So let's begin. So here on my left we have the brand new filter, and here on my right the same exact filter after 5,100 miles. Now this is a 5,000 mile rated filter, and in the back I have some other filters that we can compare certain components with. Now I'm expecting this to be incredibly similar to the Walmart SuperTech filter. These are very popular and they're also very inexpensive, typically around $3, sometimes even less. So most likely will be very similar to that. We'll see if I'm right. Now that being said, if you're ever at the parts store and you sort of want to understand what's going on, you can simply just open the box. Sometimes it may have some cellophane. You can still take a look at it even with that on. But that being said, right behind the base plate you see this blackish material, and this is the anti-drain back valve. This is a rubber anti-drain back valve as opposed to silicone. This you find on your higher end filters, the silicone material. And I'll explain what this does in a moment. Also take a look at the center tube. It's a metal center tube. Now you may be thinking all filters are metal. That's silly. Well, take a look at the SuperTech here. It's a nylon core. There's no metal here. Even the end caps are not metal. Also, AC Delco runs a nylon core center tube. So this is metal. It's not wire backed. Obviously, this is what you find on your higher end filters. Wix XP, Amsoil, Royal Purple, Napa Platinum, for example. I'll explain what that does a little bit later. And lastly, you can even see the media. You can see the media of the filter right there as you rotate it. Now this is most likely fiberglass, polyester, a blend of the two. That's typical what you find on your lower end filters. Now how do I know that? Well, this is a 5,000 mile rated filter. On your synthetic filters, which run up to 15, sometimes 25,000 miles on certain Amsoils, they run synthetic and they also cost 3 times as much. So just by process of elimination, also the color tends to be different, you can sort of see what's going on. If you're curious what that is all the way back there, that's your bypass valve. I'll explain what that is, but at least this does have a bypass valve. Not every filter has it, so that's a good sign. So let's cut open the filters and see exactly what everything looks like. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Well, one pleasant surprise is that this filter employs metal end caps. Now most filters do, but some do not. For example, take a look at the Walmart filter. These are not metal end caps. Also, many of you know about Fram Extra Guard, and many of you have said my engine completely failed on them because they use this cardboardish paper material. I don't know, to be quite honest, what happened there, but I've used Fram in the past, never ever had an issue with them, but I always changed my oil, sometimes before it was even due. So change your oil on time, you can save yourself a lot of headaches. So metal end caps, metal center tube, and on top you have a bypass valve. Now what this valve does, if you take a look here, it was certainly time to change the oil, and I'll come in for a different shot in a moment. But what happens is if I never changed this, or if I never changed the filter, the media will start to degrade and then squeeze in. And what that could do is block the oil flow. And if that ever happens, this little valve opens up and unfiltered oil will at least recycle back in the engine. It's a safety feature. Most filters have a bypass valve, but sometimes they're just engineered differently. So that's good to see. Bypass valve, metal end caps, metal center tube, very good spacing. I mean, you'd be surprised. Over time, we've opened up filters that could be twice as costly as this, and you'll find really ugly big gaps in the spacing, overspray on the gluing. This is constructed, I'm surprised. I was not expecting this clean of a construction on this filter. A little overspray here, but again, that's nitpicking at this point. Very, very surprising in that sense. So that's good. Also, this was surprising to me. This is a coil spring as opposed to a stamped piece of steel. I imagine this costs a lot less to manufacture than a coil spring. The whole point behind this, it just keeps all the components nice and compact inside the filter. For example, K&N, Wix XP, there's a couple of them. I would say maybe 20% of the time you'll find a coil spring as opposed to a stamped piece of steel. So that's a nice surprise in a sense. If you're curious about the can, it's actually not bad. It's quite strong. Again, we've opened up filters. Let's take a look at the Walmart here. Yeah, it's a lot thinner material. We've opened up filters in the past that the cap is just very, very weak in a sense. Now, of course, if you're not off-roading, who cares? But that's also, you never know. If you run over something at 65 miles an hour on the highway, you don't want your oil filter to be punctured. So it is a possibility. And I tell you, so far, pleasantly surprised. Down here, this is the anti-drain back valve. Now this is a rubber anti-drain back valve as opposed to silicone. Now what's the difference? Really, it's the temperatures. Silicone can withstand down to minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly. Compared to nitrile rubber, in those temperatures, this will degrade faster than silicone. Now on your lower end filters, this is perfectly normal. This is what you find on your lower end filters. Nothing to be surprised there, as you can see here with the Walmart filter. If that is a concern of yours, then you have to go to a more expensive filter. Okay, so certainly what I don't like is after 5,000 miles, this is sort of degrading rather quickly. And the reason why I say that is we've opened up filters. For example, we opened up, I think it was after 18,000 miles, we did a Purelator Boss. Still looked in really good shape after 18,000 miles. We opened up a K&N after I think 12. We even opened up a Fram Extra Guard after I think 7,000 miles. This, after 5,000 miles, it's certainly starting to wear down, as you can see. So the bottom line, if you take anything from this video, replace your oil when you're supposed to, especially if you're using something like this. Make sure you replace it. And over time, I've had comments of people saying I've brought my vehicle to a quick lube location and the engine went because they overfilled it, underfilled it. It could just be you didn't change the oil. So make sure you change the oil. I mean, this is proof enough. Make sure you change the oil. Also, take a look at the anti-drain back valve. Very, very stiff. It feels like this will break in half if I squeeze it hard enough. Now take a look at the unused unit. A lot more flexibility. And again, with the filters we opened up in the past, again, the 18,000, 12,000 with the K&N and 6,600 with Fram Extra Guard, they were nothing like this. So the bottom line, make sure you change the oil when you are supposed to. Okay? Now, if this was on my vehicle again, I would switch this out at 3,000 miles or 3 months, whichever came sooner. Now, that may be a little conservative, but this vehicle is 13 years old. I don't want the engine to go because now I have to donate the vehicle and buy something else. So for a little, what I consider a small amount of money, I'm going to swap this out very, very often. Now, if you're curious what this looks like compared to the Purolator after 18,000 miles, K&N after 12,000 miles, the Fram after 6,600 miles, take a look at those previous videos in the playlist. Again, if you want to see anything else, please leave those comments. I know Pennzoil, again, is very popular. Also, I do have something planned very, very soon, specifically for the muscle car group, and I'm sort of excited because I grew up with muscle cars, so that would be really cool. It'll be a comparison of different filters. You'll see that very, very shortly. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.